Peace, love, divine light, society. It's the one, the only Nexus, and we are here with another episode of Mars Magic. If you're tuning in right now, we appreciate you wherever you are, wherever you're at, especially if you're in your cars. We want to make sure that you're driving safe to and from your next destination. All right. Remember, you can always check us out on the web and stay tuned via the live streams, WUTU 883fm.com. And then I'm so pleased to inform you that Mars Magic can now be found on FreeWeb.network, on Facebook and YouTube, as well as the All Benny Forward Facebook page. All right. So not only do you get to catch us on Instagram at V.O.I.C.E.S Radio, but FreeWeb.network as well as All Benny Forward also now features Voices Radio. So we look forward to some new features, some guest artists coming through in the next couple of weeks. If you are an artist, when we talk about musicians, whether you're a singer, a MC, even graphic and visual artists, be sure to reach out to us because we would like to feature you as an opener, closer for Mars Magic going forward for Blackness' sake.
Oh yeah.
All right. So make sure you reach out to us because there are going to be some other platforms where you will be able to gain exposure. And we want to make sure that we continue to do our part to make sure that we are keeping the arts and the culture of art alive. All right.
Yes.
Woo!
Beautiful.
I'm so excited because it's a lot happening in and around Southwest Georgia. And I'm just happy to be able to be a voice to share it to the people, as well as to help us engage in those conversations and discussions that we oftentimes might not even think, to engage in. And so while we're talking about community and community engagement, some things that are coming up is the We Fight Back tour. Black Wall Street, y'all. Albany on March 2nd from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. will be hosting a meet greet in support of local Black businesses. This will be held at 423 Holloway Avenue. And guess what? The vendor spots are free. All they ask you to do is find them on Facebook. It's the We Fight Back tour and complete the Google Doc. I mean, how simple is that? All right. So this is going to be an amazing thing happening in Albany on March 2nd, again from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., 423 Holloway Avenue. All right. Also in March coming up, look, Fahudier Presents. Fahudier is an amazing nonprofit organization. It is a cultural sustainability center focused on empowering and educating Black and Brown youth here in Southwest Georgia, and they are presenting down by the riverside a procession in ancestral offering on March 24th at 3 p.m. The procession will start at 225 Pine Avenue. That's our courthouse, if you didn't know. And we will walk down to 112 Flint, which is the Horace King Overlook. Some of us know it as the Bridge House, downtown at Turtle Park. However, if you haven't done your research, I encourage you to not only do your research on Horace King in the Horace King Overlook, but to also research what happened on the steps of the courthouse prior to you meeting us there. All right. So I look forward to seeing you all on March 24th as well as March 2nd for the We Fight Back Black Wall Street tour, as well as down by the Riverside on March 24th. All right. So those are just some things that are coming up. And if you know of things, feel free to email us at thevoicesradio@gmail.com and give us current events, those things that are happening in the community so that we can share and get the information out so that we can no longer use the excuse that we perish for lack of knowledge. If we have multiple streams of media outlets where we're getting the information to the people, then we want to do that as best as we can. All right. So we are still in the month of February. And here at Voices Radio, we know it's important that we not only celebrate our ancestors, we not only celebrate those who are continuing to fight for our liberation on this side during the month of February, but to highlight them all year long. However, on today, I would like to take the time. Um, and it's interesting because Bob Marley was playing before as the show opener, and we heard Redemption Song, and it's like at some point, we have to be the ones. And how much longer must we sit around and wait? And we have some amazing people out of Albany, out of Georgia, who've done and are doing amazing things. And at this time, we would like to highlight first Mary Moss Young Cummins. In 1988, the Georgia Association of Black Elected Officials needed a president to replace suspended Fulton County Commissioner Reginald Eves. He had been convicted of extortion charges. The group met at the Sheraton Hotel on West Peachtree Street. Their state representative Tyrone Brooks, an Atlanta Democrat, nominated state representative Mary Young Cummins, an Albany Democrat. Brooks said his suggestion raised eyebrows and maybe even the blood pressure of some members of the male heavy body. There were a whole lot of men who didn't appreciate me nominating a woman, Mr. Brooks said. They rolled their eyes, but it was time for a woman to be president. Moreover, Mrs. Young Cummins was qualified. She paid her dues on the civil rights movement in her hometown of Fitzgerald in Ben Hill County. She was arrested for demonstrating at segregated lunch counters, restaurants, and movie theaters. In college, she founded a NAACP youth chapter. As an adult, she'd been an Albany city commissioner and an attorney. Her activist philosophy, Mr. Brooks said, paralleled the Black Elected Officials Association. She was a champion of civil rights, women's rights, and for maximizing the voting strength of African Americans, he said. She always stood up and pointed out the disparities in sentencing. Those were her main issues, and she was ready for the challenge. Mary Moss Young Cummins, 66 of Albany, transitioned on a Saturday from complications of various illnesses at her home. Today, we acknowledge Mary Moss Young Cummins. All right. So that's major to know that, people like Mary Young Cummins, when we talk about our young women having role models and proper representation, it is vital that we do our part to combat these things. All right. Because if we feel like the representation that the media is giving us, that TV and other social outlets are pushing on our young girls, then we have to be the ones to change the narrative. We have to be the ones to say we are going to highlight and show more representation that is in line with what we would like for our young women to grow up and represent. All right. And this isn't only for our young women, but this is for our young men as well. All right. And sometimes that just happens to be with a woman of some strong force, on their sides, at their backs, giving them motivation and inspiration. All right. And when we talk about motivation and inspiration being given to our brothers, as we continue to highlight, I would like for us to acknowledge Prathia Hall. And Prathia Hall was an American leader and activist in the civil rights movement. She actually engaged and spoke at a church in Sassa, Georgia, after the day after it had been burnt down by the KKK. And her even greater influence, okay, well, let me just tell us about it, right? So, by her mid teens, Hall hoped to join the civil rights movement. In high school, she became involved with Fellowship House, an immaculate social justice organization where she studied the philosophy of nonviolence and direct action. After graduating from high school, she attended Temple University, located in Philadelphia, not far from her home. In 1961, while still a junior at Temple, Hall was arrested in Annapolis, Maryland, for participating in the anti-segregation protest on Maryland's rural Eastern Shore. She was held without bail in jail for 2 weeks. After graduating from Temple with a degree in political science, Hall joined the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, also known as SNCC. She worked with Charles Sherrod in Southwest Georgia, who is one of our pioneers, right? And kudos to brother Charles Sherrod and his wife Shirley Sherrod for even us being able to be here at WUTU today. All right. Hall became one of the first women field leaders in Southwest Georgia. Hall later worked in Terrell County, Georgia, known as Terrible Terrell County, because of its violence against civil rights activists. African Americans who attempted to register to vote would end up missing or dead. On September 6th in 1962, night riders fired into the home where Hall and other activists were staying, wounding her, Jack Sheffield, and Christopher Allen. She was shot at by and jailed many times in Georgia, including the notorious Sassa, Georgia. While working for SNCC, Hall canvassed door to door to register voters. She also taught in freedom schools to teach potential voters how to prepare for and pass the required voter registration test. She became involved in the Albany movement. She became known for her oratorical power, which she expressed in movement meetings and preachings. In September of 1962, Hall agreed to participate in a service commemorating Mount Olive Baptist Church in Terrell County, which had been burned to the ground by the Ku Klux Klan. It had been a center for voter registration and for other mass meetings in the county among African Americans. The service, attended by Martin Luther King Jr. and SCLC strategist James Bevel. Hall was scheduled to deliver a prayer during the service. According to Bevel, as she prayed, she spontaneously uttered the and rhythmically repeated an inspiring phrase that captured the vision for the future I Have a Dream speech that we know of based on Martin Luther King, right? However, it is important that, again, we highlight and we recognize and we do our research to understand where the power and energy comes from, and to know that not always is it one single individual that is doing all of this work, but that inspiration is coming from other sources, and that it takes a village, it takes a community, it takes a unit, a unified front in order for us to make things change. All right. And so today's show is all about the take back. All right. And so not only are we taking back our history, our heritage, our legacies, we're taking back our health. And we're taking back our representation and how we are viewed by the masses. All right. And as we talk about the take back, we are all about taking back our health, right? And what does that look like? Hmm. So, I want to put us on okay, so let me tell you. So I've been telling us about the gardening and where we are, with that. And shout out to Culture Keepers of Southwest Georgia, okay, and the the community gardening initiative that is taking place, because it's been really inspiring. And I told y'all we planted some seeds. The seeds are like actually sprouting and seedlings are coming up. The other beautiful thing about that, right, is watching them sprout. And so I had some lemongrass at the house that I planted, and I've been watching it for weeks, right? And it's just like, oh, it's not gonna do anything. Okay, I don't want to water it too much. I don't want to water it too little. But over the weekend, I started to see these little green sprouts, and I'm like, yeah, we got some lemongrass coming. So let me tell you about the lemongrass. You had to know it was coming. So I remember when Khalil, my son, was going to daycare, and he was about 3 or 4 years old, and the daycare center always had this pleasant aroma, right? And so one day I was like, Mr. Trina, what are you burning? What is the fragrance? Like, is that a oil? What is it? Oh yeah, it's a little lemongrass. And I'll burn it because it keeps the kids soothed and calm, but it also smells good, right? And so lemongrass has a light, refreshing, lemony flavor, without the bitterness that lemon rinds can have, and with the hints of ginger. So yes, lemongrass is edible. If you didn't know, now you know. So it isn't one of those things that is solely used for its aromatics, for its fragrance, for its scent, but it is also used in a lot of Thai staple cuisines. All right, when we talk about their soups, when we talk about fish and seafood and other sauces, even when we talk about Caribbean foods like curries, lemongrass most definitely adds flavor to certain dishes. All right. And oftentimes it grows wild sometimes in nature. And so I've also been learning to forage a little bit and to identify which things growing wild are good to eat, which are poisonous or toxic, and even if it's not poisonous or toxic, the whole plant, some plants you can only eat the leaves or the fruit, and maybe not the fruit, but you can eat the limbs and or the leaves in the root. So I've been having fun, researching and learning about all of the different types of wild growing things that we take for granted, right? And I've also been on the 30-day nurture nature challenge. And so that's been so beautiful. The connection with nature. And one of the things that I've learned and we're talking about seeds, and there's a thing called a star seed, right? And then we know we can talk about indigo people and we can get deep into this thing, right? But we as beings, period, as melanated beings, we need the same things that these plants need in order for us to think better, move better, feel better, look better, just be overall better. We'll even talk better, right? And so sunlight, making sure, first of all, let's rewind because we did not do this at the beginning of the show. But breathing is intentionally meaningful. Us breathing has purpose. Us breathing is life force energy. If we neglect to embrace the connection between our breath and life and our then connection to all of the other things in existence, then we're already doing ourselves a disservice. All right. So make sure that even before you grab a bottle of water in the morning, that you breathe on purpose, that you breathe with intention. I like to do 3 deep breaths, and on the last one, just all that stale energy, all that stale air, just let it out. Okay. And so when we talk about our oral health, when we talk about our digestive system, right? Because all of the things we consume on a regular basis affect our digestive system. And our digestive system, when you do your research, is major when we talk about holding on to those things that are not serving us good purposes, right? So lemongrass can help with our digestive system. It can help to relieve pain, reduce fever, and ease anxiety. All right, so it's good for anti-inflammatory, antifungal. It's an astringent. Shout out to the lemongrass, and I'm glad I'm growing me some. So not only do I get to have my house smelling good, but we can work on our insides and get our insides right too. All right. The other thing, I don't know how many people have heard of the brother Yaki Awaken.
Who?
I love him. He's amazing, huh?
Who is that?
Yaki Awakened. Yes.
Oh.
And yes. It is YAHKI Awaken. And when we talk about health tips, wellness tips, when we talk about healing ourselves, right? Of course, we know our elder, our ancestor, Dr. Sebi was a pioneer in holistic healing and herbal healing, right? And so we have brothers like Yaki Awaken who is expanding on those works and on those, foundations that were laid and taking them to another level. And he has a green juice, right? That's been so controversial for blackness sake.
Oh no.
And so I love it though, because it makes my emphasis on doing your own research that more important, right? So the green juice is amazing. He has testimonies from hundreds of brothers and sisters on how this juice has helped them. But whenever we have something good going on, it has to be combated and try to be discredited by someone of similar lookings. And that's the only way, you know what I'm saying? So now it's like, oh no, this brother over here said, and this brother over here said. So we ain't gonna mess with it at all. The thing about it is we have to continue to pay attention, right? To do our research, because the brother that is trying to discredit his works, like he shows, scripts, he shows pieces of articles and pieces that have been put together and pasted to create a video, that's what we do with reels. We take bits and pieces and we put it together to make a story, right? And that's why it ends up on our stories. And so when somebody presents us with a piece of documentation and they don't show us the full document, right? Then we have to be like, oh, well, let me see what the full document says. So again, I was like, that's interesting. Why would this brother be over here promoting one thing? And then this brother say, oh no, don't do it like that. Do it like this. But you see the similarities, right? And you like, oh, hold on. It's the smoke and mirrors. They trying to shade us. And so, nevertheless, I'm finna share the green juice. The recipe for the green juice is 7 green apples, 1 stalk of celery, a pinch of cilantro, a handful of parsley, a half a teaspoon of cayenne pepper, woo, spicy, a thumb of ginger, 2 cucumbers with no skin, and 1 lemon with skin. Why are we doing this? This juice is designed to remineralize our body. All right. So not only will the apples help to strengthen and remove toxins, the celery is going to help to replace those bad bile salts with good natural bile salts. All right. The cilantro is going to help remove those excess minerals that our body does not need. And so I'm always give you a jewel drop on foods, and I've gone through this, when we do the chakras and we highlight foods based on the chakras, and we've most definitely done, and all of this all of these items, they're green too, right? So they're also helping to provide us with chlorophyll, which is another agent that's going to help to boost our immune system and help us with things like our sinuses and other asthmatic causing agents, right? But then it also helps with our heart energy, right? So all of these things are helping to purify, to detox our blood so that our bloodstream, our blood, our artery walls are open and able to flow smoother. You know what I'm saying? And so it's a full body detox. And when we talk about the pH balance, when we talk about the acidity,
Oh, yes, no, you good. I'm so sorry. I want to talk. I want to say what you saying.
You have to create a healthy balance. You know what I'm saying? And then when we talk about detoxing, a lot of times it's like, oh well, yeah, I'm gonna do this juice, but then I'm gonna eat this over here, and it's like, so we can't detox and say we're going to do these fruits and vegetables and turn around and drink milk and eat ice cream and then say I gotta have cheese eggs and things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? Because it defeats the purpose.
I don't know which one capital or not. I don't know. Is anything capital on the all right. Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's all good.
And so you can't have, and why? Because if you've ever even gone to the doctor for a cold, right? Or anything with dealing with your respiratory, whether it's a cold, flu, oftentimes they tell you no dairy, right? They tell you no cheese, no milk, no yogurt, things of that nature. Why? Because if you're already sick, these things are only going to add to it because they are mucus producing agents. All right. And so, what you don't want to do is create a mucus buildup because that's why we have congestion. Like our lungs have issues, and then our lungs, our hearts, arteries get clogged, things of that nature. So we want to reduce the mucus intake. We want to reduce the mucus buildup. And so you don't want to go back and eat meats even, because meats then have fats and things that don't properly break down. And so if you're going to treat your body to a detox, right, and work on removing all of these agents so you're revitalizing and remineralizing your body to feel better, to move better, to look better, to think better, and then you're going to go back and say, I just gotta have this ice cream. I gotta, and it's like, I get it. We're human, right? We all have weaknesses, but these are areas or opportunities for us to learn what our weaknesses are, right? So that we can find substitutes. A lot of people even and we've been talking about females a lot the show, right? So a lot of times we crave sweet stuff. And it's like, well, when you're craving sweet stuff, why not grab some sweet fruit instead of like some candies and again ice cream? I don't know. I must want some ice cream somewhere in my subconscious because I keep talking about it, right? But then there are things we can do like make our own dairy-free ice creams, whether we use coconut milk, almond milk, and we can make our own almond milk if we don't trust the almond milk that's in the store. If we don't trust the oat milk that's in the store, we can make our own almond milk, oat milk, and turn it into these sweet treats, right? So just because we're talking about um being more plant-based or more conscious about what we eat and what we take in doesn't mean that we don't get to enjoy foods, right? Or explore foods in a different way that we haven't explored them before. All right. And I'm just excited about this whole new phase and transition of life and where it's going. All right. And I think everybody else should be excited too, even though sometimes it's like, oh man, it's a lot happening. I got so much on my plate, got so much to do. But when we start to make these small changes, even getting a house plant, if we don't have house plants, something like a spider plant or a rubber plant, like these things again help to remove certain toxins in the atmosphere in our homes. They help to bring about a certain level of oxygen exchange, stress relief. So these are some things that we can start to do. Even if you aren't into gardening and like, oh, Nexus is doing too much talking about planting fruits and vegetables. I ain't got no green thumb. Stop letting the excuse of a green thumb keep you from at least trying, right? And so the other thing I've been doing, and you can help if you know somebody who is starting to garden or starting to grow things. You can help by composting when you're eating your fruits and vegetables instead of throwing away your scraps. You know what I'm saying? You can hold on to those things and say, hey, Nexus, I got a trash bag full of scraps for you to come pick up, and we'll add it to the compost pile and start to turn it over, because that's how we create our own things like manure, right? And rich fertilizers. Um, so these are some things that we're getting into and that we're going to continue to share with the rest of the people. All right. Before we get out of here, I just want to say shout out to Sweet Juice.
Hey.
Oh, Sweet Juice in the
Oh.
building, and Dominique for
Oh, yeah.
coming through and vibing with me
I'm gonna get
on
about
this
10 minutes on that
Mars.
camera.
We have some beautiful stuff lined up for the future.
Oh,
So y'all just stay tuned because it's going up.
Oh, yeah.
And so, as we prepare to close out, we did have the release of the Bob Marley film on the 14th. I have yet to check it out. And it's like, how next is like, I know, because I'm waiting for the hype to die down and like, and really just be able to enjoy it without all of the chitter, the chatter, and just, okay, let's check out this love tale. And we know that Bob Marley was a political activist, right? We know that Mary Young Cummins was a political activist. We talked about Prathia Hall and Charles Sherrod. And now we have people like Adam Inyang, and we have people like Joshua Anthony, and we have other people in the city of Albany who have a vested interest in what it looks like when we talk about moving our people, moving our culture, moving our society forward. And it's interesting because I saw a dialogue and it really struck me, and I've listened to it like so many times. And I'm about to give y'all my version of it. Leadership in government is political power. Political power is an official form of antagonizing the people. Some citizens would say that politics are necessary, while many of us argue that politics are rules imposed upon the people. How dare you say this? When in this country rules are not imposed, they are the wish of all free citizens. I'm not that sure that this is true, especially if you were to travel around a bit. I think you will realize that they aren't all that free. Every man is in a straitjacket and without a passport. Can't move a toe. What does this have to do with anything? A lot, because in a free world, they violate the natural rights of every citizen, becoming the weapons of political depot. Wouldn't think as they think. You don't think as they think. You're deprived of your passport. To leave a country is like breaking out of jail, and to enter a country is like going through the eye of a needle. Am I free to travel? Of course you say yes, I am. Only with the passport, though. Do animals need a passport? It's in Congress that This atomic age of speed, we are shut out and shut in by a passport and freedom of speech. Does it even exist? What about free enterprise? Can we go into the automobile business and compete with the auto trust? Can we go into the grocery business and compete with the chain stores? Though monopoly is the menace of free enterprise, we hold the monopoly on consumerism. So yes, we can if we choose to unify our Black dollars and trust in each other to create, to build, and to maintain for ourselves. We are the clerks. We are the teachers. We are the mechanics. So why not? Is it all because of politics or because of our lack of action and mobility? Whew, I don't know, y'all, but I know we got a whole lot of work to do. And I think right now is a good time for us to go to a whole music break. This is Nexus with Voices Radio, bringing you Mars Magic on WUTU 88.3, where we bring you the best in community and old school classics. Adjust your thought process.
Girl, you amazing. You amazing. You're amazing. You're amazing.
Turn it up, turn it up. Yeah, so you're still live on the on this. We're gonna go to a commercial break real quick.
Okay.
When you need more than a simple solution. When you need the best quality at the best prices. When you need a hero to save your business. You know there's only one name you can trust. Easy Copy. We make business marketing easy. Subscribe to the Easy Life at easycopy.io.
And that thing.
Okay.
Turn that music out.
But yeah, this is me not being here.
Yeah.
But all right, so and also too, if let me. In fact, what we gonna do to, and then I'm gonna actually start off with these two because I can't see, but I know I'm right here. Hey, so actually check this out now, because this was just a pilot. We finna actually make this formalized. Make sure you back here Tuesday, next Tuesday for Mars Magic, Voices Radio. Also, too, again, you can check us out live on all the places that she said. All on the Facebook, on her Instagram live, V.O.I.C.E.S Radio at V.O.I.C.E.S Radio. And we it's also going to be broadcast on the Albany Southwest Georgia page soon. So make sure you like, share, subscribe, and then also to catch me tomorrow. We live Wednesday morning. We're talking about a lot of junk now. We're talking about the missing employee, Mr. Stevens. We're talking about a lot of different stuff, man. So tune in tomorrow morning. And shoot, what's up? That's it. All right. Cool. Boom.